All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Cheryl Meier. Today we're going to talk about developing your new identity. What we do in childhood is we take in the identity, the worth that our parents showed us. And not just worth. This is going to get really, really deep. So if you're ready to go deep, then be prepared. Let's just do it. Because, when you go to these deeper places, I just feel like it cleans out more. Not to be stuck in our head. This is not about being stuck in our head. This is actually about getting out of our mind. And there's the tree again. I always say get present first, because the great philosophers and everything will say, know thyself. Who are you? That's a good question to ask. Who are you? Who are you in your essence? That's what we're going to get to today. And your unprogrammed self. Because, so we come in here and let's say we're made out of the substance of God, and we're made in the image and likeness of the divine love, right? And I always say I welcome all religions, right? But I'm going to, there's no but to that. I totally always do, because I think I have this understanding that we all come from the same source. We all come from divine love. And we all have a longing to go back to that to some degree or another. Some people are more aware of that. Some people are asleep to that. So I read a whole book on my YouTube channel by a guy named Maurice Nicoll. He was a doctor in the 1800s, and he studied under Gurdjieff, if you've heard of him. People pronounce his name different ways, but there's Gurdjieff and Nicoll. Look, I have a picture of them. I'm very careful about what I show, but you can look it up online. Oh, look what I put on top. Read every day, live every day. Well, this has been gone for a long time, and I found it the other day. I laminated it. That's how important it was to me. And it leaves off. But for people that speak different languages that are getting the captions here, I'm gonna read it, because otherwise you could just take a screenshot of that. But this is like the essence of everything. And understand that this is just this guy's theory, but it's very well developed. And if you are a Christian, then you can apply this to how Christ teaches when he says, do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. If we go by our old identity that our parents gave us when we were little, is like, let's just say, I use my dad as an example. My dad was rejected a lot, and he talks about this. He's written 100 books or something. Like literally, if he was rejected by his dad all the time for not being perfect, not being good enough, then what I got was the image of a rejected dad, someone that was always insecure, always trying to prove his worth, and so on and so forth. He told me when he wrote, this is like public, he's probably written this in lots of books. When he wrote his first book, his dad's first thing to him was, well, Jerry Rice or I don't know who this guy is, but someone else has written 100 books, right? And so my dad would be put down. And so, I just heard, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. This morning, we were reading that. Jesus said it on the cross. It doesn't mean excuse. It means no wonder I got a rejection script. Any of us got a rejection script because our parents, unless they consciously reprogram themselves, which we are doing today, we're reprogramming ourselves so we don't have to take on that old idea. What we automatically do is we automatically internalize the way they treated us, right? I'm a psychologist for the last 20 plus years, so I'm just describing what I've learned. I went to 9 years of schooling before that and got my doctorate, So we just internalize what we experience. If someone kept slapping me, I would experience, you are worth slapping. You're not worth protecting. You're not worth your boundaries. You're not worth listening to. All these things, right? Okay, and so it's our job now and our responsibility. It's no one else's responsibility. I wrote down the idea, so this ought to be coming in the future for another video today. I got this inspiration to go, oh, why do men like confident women? You know, it's just a little side note here. It's like, and we like confident men if we're gonna date, you know, or marry or whatever. It's not just because we want someone super confident. It's like because intuitively underneath that, you know, we know, it's like, back it up, beep, beep, beep. We're not responsible for someone else's feelings, and we want someone that is confident in knowing their true identity. That's what it's unconsciously you're craving when you desire that. You know what I mean? And so it's like you're craving to be with someone that's actually healthy. Now, some people have false confidence and they're all ego, and they've built themselves up on, like, let's say I've made 20 movies and I've been like the best actress, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden my career dries up. You know, you'll find out what my real worth is underneath that. If I don't have a real worth underneath that, then it's going to be a lot of trouble in that relationship, you know? And so it's so important for us, for your own sanity. Who cares about dating? Like, that's secondary. You know, I mean, and there's all sorts of scriptures. If you want to understand, Jesus is always talking about higher consciousness. You wouldn't get offended by Jesus if you could understand with your innermost mind or your highest mind what he's always saying. He's always saying, you know, not people's translation of it, like their own interpretation from their rejected selves, but he's always teaching us about how to, you know, when he talks about the person who found the pearl of great price and sold everything, and when he talks about seek first the kingdom of God, and then all these other things shall be added to you. When you seek first, when you know your real worth, and you're it's like whatever people say about you, you're not faded by it or jaded by it or influenced by it or whatever, you know, because you know your real worth. So he's always trying to teach us how to be free, how to free ourselves. But let me read this, all right? Just listen to it. And it comes, I'll have to write where it comes from, or you can just look up Maurice Nicoll on essence and personality, right? Okay, this is his perspective. Again, translate it in your own, the highest understanding you can. Essence comes down to earth, and there is formed for it a physical body out of substances derived from both parents. Out of those substances, which make separate and distinct sets of the necessary materials for the formation of a body, some are selected from one parent, and some are from the other parent, like DNA, the rest being discarded. The essence is prior to the body, through which it makes contact with the world. Now, of course, we can read Psalm 139, God saying, you know, King David wrote, you know, I formed you by influence of the Holy Spirit in your mother's womb. I knit you together. You know, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. The divine is doing this. This is just man's understanding of and putting into words, which is always a limitation of the divine, right? In this respect, the work, they call it the work, doing this inner work, with capital W, corrects our customary sense-based view that the parents make the child. They supply certain materials which are made in them, and everything else is done. The only thing that can be said to be done by the parents is to bring the two sets of materials together. Then, if there is an individual essence seeking manifestation, a child results. If you want to understand, like, God lets the soul come in, or however, like, I won't get into all the theology. Let's just go with this so we can understand, take back our identity. When Jesus says, abide in me, remain in me, apart from me, you can do nothing. If Jesus is talking as the divine love, then he's saying, remain in divine love. Apart from me, you can do nothing. This morning, I got this verse in my head. I got, trust in the Lord, in the eternal one, in the divine love with all your heart. Lean not on your old understanding. It's your own understanding, but your old understanding, the programming that I got, that you got by parents that were rejected, that didn't know how to heal those wounds, or didn't choose to, or didn't realize they could, or whatever. But now you're still alive and you got this video. So you have the capacity to do this. God put it in us. It put it in our parents. But if they didn't do it for us, then we internalize you're not worth doing this inner work, but you are worth doing this inner work. That's why I make so many videos, so that people don't have excuses for it's not out there or it costs money. No, you are worth it, and it's out there. And all of the knowledge I've got for the past 30 years, I keep putting it in videos so that you guys can have it. So subscribe and share and put on the notifications and comment and grow my channel all you want, so other people can get this, because I don't understand the algorithm. So just do what you can, and you can do a lot. But no strings attached for me. All right. So now the death of several million beings in the form of sperms, this is just how he's describing it, is involved in the first contact of essence with the earth. The presence of and the death of these vast quantities of living cells seems necessary for one of them to pass from the cosmos of cells to the cosmos of man, and to attain its goal by full development. We understand that the object of essence in coming down to this earth and seeking a body is to enable it to reach full development. But we are told that essence can only grow to a certain limited extent under ordinary circumstances, and that it requires a special food to develop any further. We may be sure that this special food will involve the death of something else. In this case, it involves the death of personality, okay? So he's going to go on to say that a personality forms around our essence, and our personality is like, how we can get through in this world and stuff. And I have the personality of a psychologist, or personality of a mom, or whatever. But that's not my essence. Who am I beyond my name? Who am I beyond my religion? Who am I as my deeper I, as my essence self, myself created by God before all the dogmas and stuff? That the part that of course came from God, so longs for truth and longs to be aligned with divine love and all of those things. And that's why I seek after it. And I have this understanding that all people are looking for this. G.K. Chesterton has a quote that says, all men in a brothel are looking for God. So I just go by that. Okay, so he says, first there's essence, which can only grow to a limited extent. Understand here that the body is not the essence itself. The body becomes full grown of itself if provided with physical food. So the body, if you give physical food, grows. But this is not the case with the essence, which needs psychological food, which coming to my heart, my mind is the divine love. Divine love is my shepherd, the Lord, the eternal one. That it means Yahweh, the breath, the nameless one. We can't even say the name. The Lord is my shepherd. And the word shepherd is a Hebrew word that looks like best friend. It's like a couple letters difference or something. So there's a word play there. The Lord is my shepherd. And he brings me to quiet waters. He restores my soul. So he brings me to pastures of green pastures. Like we're here right now, green pasture. So it's saying, if you surrender up to the divine love and you learn how to do that, which does not come in a day, it's by continuous practice of learning how to do this, then your soul will start having food, and you'll start craving to feed your soul, more and more, and you'll see what it does when you feed your soul. Just like if you feed your body nutritious food, or you start conditioning your body and working out, then you just start feeling great, and you're like, I don't want to go a day without exercising and building these muscles, because this is how your essence is, right? Okay, it says the body becomes full grown of itself if provided with physical food, but this is not the case with the essence, which needs psychological food. The history of the development of the essence is not the history of the development of the body. A fully developed body does not mean a fully developed essence. A savage man may have the strength of 3 ordinary men and the mind of a child of 2. That is the tragedy. First, then, there is essence and body only. Then essence is active. Think of a little child, their essence is active. They're not judging. They're not criticizing. They're not even comparing. They're just present. And they're like, let's play, Okay, so next there is formed gradually around the essence a covering called personality. Sometimes he describes it like a white of the egg around the yolk. And the yolk, if a chick is in an egg, I've talked about this before, the chick needs to eat the white, the protein, in order to be born. And so your essence, and Jesus says it this way, he says, you must die every day, take up your cross and die daily. Oh, I was going to go to 15 minutes. So listen, if you're on the other platforms that only allow 15 minutes, come to my YouTube channel. It's my name, Dr. Cheryl Meier, and find this video. All right. So you get the rest of this. First, then, there's essence and body only. The essence is active. Next, there is formed, gradually around essence, a covering called personality, and this surrounds the essence. In the meantime, the body continues to grow. As a rule, man does not reach any further stage. His body grows, his essence remains undeveloped beyond a short growth, and personality is formed. The man's center of gravity of consciousness shifts more and more into the outer covering called the personality. That life is forming in him, chiefly by imitation, just imitating others, picking up on the collective consciousness that Carl Jung talks about, and so many other people have taught about, and Jesus taught about it all the time, but most people don't see it, unfortunately. But the Spirit can show these people, even if people don't see it, if they're yielding to the Holy Spirit of God, then the Spirit will reveal these things, even if they don't understand it conceptually like we're getting to right now, right? So as a rule, I bet this wind is going, I'll cover this. As a rule, man does not reach any further stage. His body grows, his essence remains undeveloped, but beyond a short growth, and personality is formed. The man's center of gravity of consciousness shifts more and more into the outer covering called personality. That life is forming in him, chiefly by imitation. The man, as it were, passes outward into what is not him. In this way, the personality becomes active and the essence becomes passive. So then you were in your essence as a child, This is why it says in order to enter the kingdom of God, in order to get the divine mysteries, you have to go back into your essence, Your mind is just this puny thing, like a brain, like a kid's toy piano, It can do so much, but you have a higher mind and connection with your soul. You are a soul. You are in a body, And so, anyway, but the essence goes passive. The personality becomes active. So few have passed in this outward direction under the hypnotic action of life ever return. So few, Jesus said, narrow is the road and few find it, and wide is the gate to destruction. Because if I am this soul essence, like I learned this from like the movie Avatar, right? If I am the soul essence and I put myself somehow in a body of a Barbie doll, and I started becoming that Barbie doll and being so enamored by how perfect she looked, or pretended to act, or whatever, then I could lose my real essence. My real essence self is the person in, and this is how people, I know, because my ex is like the director of a very popular $1 billion game. I won't say what right now, but and so I have been around the game industry for the last 20 plus years. Anyway, so it's like if you get so caught up in the game, that you think you are that character, instead of you forget who you actually were. We go into forgetfulness, and that character, your avatar, becomes active and you become passive. The whole Matrix movie shows this a lot with Keanu Reeves, right? It reveals this. All right, so I'm getting ants and whatever. It's fine, don't worry. I choose to be here. Okay, so few have passed into this outward direction. Few, having passed in this outward direction under the hypnotic action of life, ever return. But a great deal is said in esoteric literature. That just means hidden, but it's meant to be known. But it's meant to be revealed, but it's just like the word for the book of Revelation. It's the revealing of truths. It's written in symbolic form because you're meant to find out what those symbols mean, which they're all in the Old Testament, so you can find them. They're readily available. But it just takes being present. And this takes being present to your essence, so to your divine nature. All right? I mean, the divine gave us the body as well. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's a long conversation right there. But a great deal is said in esoteric literature, as for instance in the Gospels, about turning. A man who lives and dies in this state, in which personality is active and essence passive, is incomplete and unfinished. Such a man is sometimes called a seed, an acorn, an ear of wheat, or sometimes an unfinished house. Jesus says, build your house on the rock, not on the sand, because if you build it on the sand, on your personality self, when the rain and the storms come, that personality will fall down. Just like I was giving, I didn't know this was here, I forgot because I read this the other day. that example of the actress or the actor who's built all these movies or has a big bank account, and then all of a sudden it's taken for some reason, or something happens in the world and they can't make movies. They get to find out what is their real self, their real essence, and is it developed at all? It could be at like a 3-year-old stage because they've been developing this outer personality so much. And so Jesus says the kernel of wheat must go into the ground and the outer shell has to be taken off so that the plant can actually grow. And so Maurice, Nicoll, I read a whole book on my YouTube channel called The New Man, which talks about this so much in depth. And I'm not saying I agree with everything he says, for sure not, but he has this so well developed in esoteric literature that they've read, and that's not weird and woo-woo, or getting into, I don't recommend getting into stuff that takes you off this true path. So you have to use your discernment, okay? But I had to read this today. I just felt like it was in my heart to do this. And so, okay. So such a man is sometimes called a seed, an acorn, an ear of wheat, or sometimes an unfinished house. In a general sense, he is called man asleep. Man asleep, yeah. When Jesus says, go and let the dead bury the dead, you come and follow me. Well, if they're burying each other, they're alive. They're just dead to these higher truths and this higher way of cultivating this inner self. Now, the Holy Spirit will do this transformation, but you have to yield. And if you're so stuck in your personality, then you're actually not living in what real faith is. You can just say, oh, I believe in this. But Christ says a man must be born anew. Like, what if it's more like what Nicoll is talking about? You leave your old self and you're not willing to keep showing allegiance to that, or me showing allegiance to the rejection I got programmed into me as a child, or that my dad taught me all we're worth is you're never measuring up, and all that kind of stuff, right? So I'll just keep reading it because I don't want this to go on so long. In general, in a general sense, he's called man asleep. The food that essence needs for its further development is the personality that has been formed around it. But it depends on the understanding of the man whether the essence will get this food. Mechanically, this will not happen. It won't happen. He must begin to awaken before this is possible. And for this, he must get knowledge. Through awakening, he feels himself less and less through his personality. And this is why I did that video just yesterday or day before. I posted this video about be in love. Everyone deserves to be in love. It's just a 1-minute video where I'm skating to a song by the Flock of Seagulls that's talking about love. Guess I'm falling in love. It's not guess. It's in my other mind, so I don't want to go into that right now. But I was just in this mystic state, understanding myself as essence, not as personality. So I just let go of all that extra stuff. And I'm teaching you how to feel that place. And you can't just feel it by watching my videos, but consciousness gets transferred. That's why I'm making these videos, And sometimes I'm making them because I'm directed to make it, and I don't even know the deepest essence of why they're made. Who knows? What if YouTube and all of these social media platforms, Instagram and stuff, is going to be around 1,000 years from now? Like, I'm doing my best to make timeless videos because these are timeless spiritual truths that are, more than 7,000 years old, more than that. I don't know. I won't go into it. Like, if we think about Tolkien and all his Silmarillion and the Age of Men and the Age of Elves and all of that stuff, if there was anything like Lemuria or Atlantis or anything before this, I still understand that Adam and Eve are something, and they're here and they're to be taught. And the Greek Orthodox don't specifically say. I was reading a book by Callistus Ware. He just passed away. I love him. He wrote a really good book on what do the Orthodox believe, or how they believe you can be saved. And it's just a short book, but it talks about a lot of these things. So I can't get into all of it right now. But in a general sense, okay, so he's called man asleep. The food the essence needs for its further development is the personality. You must die to yourself daily. That's what Christ says. I added that part, but it is the personality that has been formed around it. But it depends on the understanding. Okay, so we said he must begin to awaken before it's possible, and this he must get knowledge. Through awakening, he feels himself less and less through his personality. In this sense, personality begins to die. Many eyes, they, must die for the man to be born. You have all these eyes that say, I want to go get my lunch. I want to take a nap. I want to go call a friend. I want to get some work done. I want to do this. I want to just go out right now, or I want to have a drink, or I want to run away from this, or I don't want to die to myself, or whatever. All these different eyes are there, and they all present like they are yourself. They say, I am the I. They sound like you in your head. They're not. They're all just different competing desires. And also we pick up on the collective. Some of my eyes are just my dad's old programming, my mom's old programming of like being a doormat or trying to please people, or the collective, the egotism that says you have to do this or you're worth nothing. And I mistake it as my eyes. So the more you know yourself, you know what? I remember reading in The Power of Now, or listening to The Power of Now as well. Eckhart Tolle said, the word enlightenment is just about becoming aware of the felt sense of your divine essence, the experience of yourself as this divine. And now I'm not saying that you're perfect in that. Because that just makes us, let go of our guilt. Because we're not meant to live in guilt and shame. That's what forgiveness is about. But to just pretend like my car is perfect when it needs gas and the tire needs changing and the windshield wiper fluid is low and the oil needs changing, I'm just pretending because I don't want to feel bad about the state of my car. I don't have to feel bad about the state of my car. I can just see it as is and be like, oh, this is what we do to make it run the best, The word sin means to miss the point of life, hamartia, to miss the mark. You're not on the telos, the aim of divine love. You're not aligned with perfect divine love. So let's just get back. It's just like someone going, hey, there's your target over there. You're to the right. Go to the left a little. Oh, you're a little above. Now go back. When I was in Austin, I got to shoot a bow and arrow or throw a hatchet. I think I threw a hatchet. So they just told us, hey, your arrow's off, or I can't remember what we were throwing, but anyway. Oh, knives. It was knife throwing. I was like, this is cool. Okay, so many eyes must die for the man to be born. So here we see some analogy. These eyes, which form the population of the personality, have to be set in the right order. Namely, the eyes that can awaken in your essence must be set over those that cannot. It's just like they say, the mind is a good servant but a horrible master. Or your dog, it's like if you're walking the dog, it's great to have a dog, all the benefits, like it can add years to your life to have a dog, but to have your dog always leading you on the leash is not. To have my emotions running me, where I'm crying all the time, I try to be present with my feelings so that they can pass through me and out of me, but not let my feelings dictate me because someone said something mean, yelled it out the window. Oh, someone did once to me, right? I still remember. Try to let that go, It's like if I took that in and felt all rejected and then started crying, and then it triggers all these old eyes, these old personality self that I took in from the programming of my dad. And then I feel bad for him and how bad he felt in life. And I feel bad for all the other people reject. Like that's just a downward spiral, and that's not my real essence. My real essence is love and joy and beingness. And it's like we're a drop out of the ocean of God, and he's the ocean, he, she, like God is beyond he and she. But anyway, all right, so I hope you're getting some of this. Anyway, the eyes which form the population of the personality have to be set in the right order. Namely, the eyes that can awaken must be set over those that cannot. This might be one of the most important videos or pieces of information you've ever come across in your whole life. This is why I say on this, read daily, live daily, until I memorize it. So anyway, hi again. How are you? Good. Okay, so many eyes must die for the man to be born. So here we see some analogy. These eyes which form the population of personality have to be set in the right order. Namely, that is the eyes that can awaken must be set over those that cannot. An evil, quote, I, a negative I, must die. That is, it must be relegated to the furthest away place and given no nourishment. You have to starve it out. If you fight it, it's like if I've been smoking my whole life or something, like I give an hour a day to smoking for 30 years. I can't all of a sudden right now fight that. I don't have 30 years of every day, 30 hours, whatever the math is of 365 times 30. Anyway, whatever that is. But if I start withdrawing my energy from that addiction and fill that space up in me with something else, something good, then I can start letting go of this addiction. This is why I have so many videos, to help us reprogram. So psychologically, we are most what we nourish the most, and we nourish most what we love the most. If we love the negative I's the most, we nourish them the most. Dr. Joe Dispenza has a book. I took a week-long advanced class with him and had all these videos before that for the beginner class, but I was live for he wrote a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, which talks about the high you get. You actually get a chemical and physical high. For me to keep going back to my dad's rejection of me and my dad's rejection of himself and my mom's rejection and my mom's definition of my worth is to go back to a familiar place. I get a chemical high until I detox from that. That's what he describes. Till I detox from that. And he talks about, having visions and, but just going into the place of, I remember, it's like, what does he say? Oh, shoot. It's like, no mind in space. I don't say you have to do it the Dr. Joe Dispenza way. There's so many other people that teach different ways. This is just, he's actually teaching the same thing a different way. And I've been teaching it this whole time. Psychologically, we are most what we nourish most, and we nourish most what we love the most. If we love the negative I's most, we nourish them most. Like, let's say you didn't get any attention as a child. I knew this working in schools as a psychologist. And so you start acting out and being the class clown, or just falling, doing the pratfalls or whatever, like, is that what they're called? Just falling over everything and making everyone laugh. You get a lot of attention from disrupting the class, let's say. Laughing is really important. It is, totally. So that's why it's rewarded, because we need to laugh as much as we can, But if you keep disrupting the class and you get attention for being negative or for being late all the time or whatever, then you start developing a high for that. And then even though it's negative and you no longer want to be like that, let's say you want to go to a good college and you wanted to go to a good school or something, or learn something, and you don't want to be that, but you formed a habit because you kept nourishing the negative I's because you got rewarded for that. That's how we can have negative I's that we rewarded. That's why we can keep picking the same dysfunctional relationship over and over again, because we didn't break that pattern within ourselves of nourishing these negative I's. And so that's what we attract. We attract what we are. And you're not that in your essence. That's the thing. This is why I'm like, no, you're always worth 100% of love 100% of the time. But let's learn how to do that. Take back control here and learn how to do that. I'm just getting all itchy, so I keep itching my nose. All right. So if we love the negative I's the most, we nourish them the most by ceasing to love the many I's whose quality we see in the light of this work, it's called the work. We cease to feed them with our force and they begin to shrink, okay? But they will soon recover and begin to speak again if you give them your blood to drink. Not your literal blood, your blood of your life energy, your attention. What you focus on grows. If you withdraw your attention, and I don't mean like just ignore a spoiled child. You just say, look, you're having a timeout. Mommy's right here. I love you. You get 3 minutes timeout, because you chose to, tear up your sister's page or whatever you did, your brother's. And so you're teaching them, you're not by abandoning them, but you're withdrawing the energy from them throwing a fit, let's say, right? When we draw force through non-identifying, when you stop saying that is I, this person that keeps rejecting me, I'm like, wait, that's not even me. Whose voice is that? That's the voice of the person that yelled the mean thing outside the car window. The voice of the person that just chose to ghost me instead of do something more noble in that moment. That person might not be the same at all, and neither is the person from the car. That was so many years ago, when I was little. That's not my I. That's just a reflection. I wouldn't have even taken in that I or thought a second about the person ghosting me or anyone even from the window if I was very well in touch with my true essence back then, and I didn't know so much internally my dad's rejected I that I had taken in as myself, that I was taught was myself. Because if my dad knew rejection, then he rejected me, or built me up in false ways that didn't last, and taught me to build myself up in false ways, and my mom too. Do you understand this? I hope you understand this. Please say I understand in the comments, or say something in the lines of, where are you getting this from? Anyway, it's from Maurice Nicoll on essence and personality. This person's name is SATRAKSHITA, satrakshita.com. I'm not saying whatever else is on their webpage. I'm not saying I agree with it. I don't know. That's why I'm so cautious. Anyway, so if we love the negative eyes most, we nourish them the most. By ceasing to love many eyes whose quality we see in the light of doing this work, we cease to feed them with our force, and they begin to shrink. But they will soon recover and begin to speak if you give them your blood to drink. When we draw force through non-identifying from an I, and if we understand why we're doing it, the force is taken away from this, it says just from the personality in the direction of essence. So we have to attack personality in order to weaken it. And I read from other mystics that it doesn't work to attack, it's just like if you have to cut off the lions, but if you just cut off one, another head grows. And so you have to cut it off at its source, and the divine always, if you ask God, ask Jesus, ask Christ, show me how to do this in me, teach me the true path, help me not go off on paths that just feed my ego, that I can quote I'm spiritual, they look like spiritual paths. Even if I'm led to one teaching like Eckhart Tolle or something, he teaches me deeply about presence, but I'm not going to go to him about everything and about my eternal salvation and everything. But he teaches me so much more depth about what Christ was teaching, and then I can see that in Christ. But so it doesn't mean, anyway, this is why you use discernment and pray for discernment, and spiritual discernment and physical discernment. Anyway, when we draw force through non-identifying from the I, the force is taken from the personality in the direction of the essence. So we have to attack personality in order to weaken it. All we learn in the work has this for its object. Self-observation is to make personality conscious to us with all of its eyes, its attitudes, its buffers, its pictures, its roles, etc. If we do not work on personality, it will use all our force for itself and give nothing to essence. It'll be like a freaking vampire, That's how I say it. But and I've talked about this in many videos, and I have a whole year-long class on the power of now where I'm talking about this. I might have read this in that, but to weaken it. All we learn in the work has this for its, so pictures, even you can have, I notice, I don't say should to myself, but I notice myself internally, glaring at myself when I had clothes all over the floor in my closet. And it was like this hidden, you should have everything perfect, and why haven't you cleaned this? It's been a month, and granted, it's going to be good for me to clean that, but it's not through me shaming myself. It's through me probably not knowing that I'm worth having it all clean and that space clean and getting rid of stuff. I probably haven't let go of things in my closet because I think I need them, in order to look better on some certain day or whatever. I wish I was like Einstein and just some days I wish this, just wear the same thing every day so you don't have to get encumbered by that stuff. That's taking away from your personality. But we're meant to express ourselves. Our essence can express itself through our clothing and stuff like that, and art. Anyway, so in order to weaken it, all we learn in the work has this for its object. Self-observation is to make personality conscious to us with all its eyes, its attitudes, buffers, pictures, roles. If we do not work on personality, it will use all our force for itself and give nothing to essence. Essence, which is really ourself, will be starved. If we do nothing with personality, we remain therefore seeds, unfinished houses, people asleep in ourselves. And as such, since we are created self-developing organisms, we are useless experiments, failures, whatever position we hold in the world. It doesn't matter if we are like the head of a certain country or anything, or you've made 1,000 movies. It doesn't matter, written 100 books. If you're only in personality, this is why Jesus says, apart from me, you can do nothing. What is it worth if a man gains the whole world but loses his soul? What does it mean to lose your soul? What does it mean to not know yourself as essence now, as your soul self, right? So the essence has been connected with a body. The body has grown up. The essence has grown a little. The personality has surrounded. Everything is now ready for the work of self-development through the death of the personality. Die daily, He didn't say that. I'm just quoting Jesus. It is at this stage that self-development can begin, but as a rule, nothing further takes place. Man lives and dies as a seed asleep in a world of people asleep. But he does not guess that this is the actual case, although he may have heard it often. All right, I don't know where the third page is of this, but that's the 2 pages that I had laminated. And, all my videos are about developing this. All my life is dedicated to this because I have an understanding that this is what Christ was in highest consciousness, and he was teaching us how to do this and what this looks like and how to walk the true spiritual path. But it's like few find it because you can't just put it in words. Rumi says, and lots of mystics say, the Sufi poet Rumi says, don't mistake this finger pointing to the sun, or even the sun itself as the these words on this piece of paper aren't the truth. You living and knowing yourself as essence and your soul awakening and you learning what it is to not miss the mark of dying to yourself and living in faith and what does that mean and all of that stuff, that's the true path. I'm just putting it in some words. Maurice Nicoll was putting it in words. And so Maurice Nicoll's work is not copyrighted. This is why I felt like I could read this off of this guy's website because it's been over 100 years, as far as I remember. So that's why I read The New Man, because of my childhood, I felt like, people treated me like an object in so many ways. I just noticed that the other day. So stole from me. So I'm so over cautious about, I don't want to use people's songs unless I have their rights, or I can quote them, but anyway, so sometimes it's to my detriment, but that could be personality stuff that I get to work on. Anyway, please share this with deep philosophical, contemplative people that want to begin. I'm like, I think Dr. Joe Dispenza's written 3 books on this, and there's the letting go and breaking the habit of being yourself. Was I saying that? No, yeah, I was. Letting Go and Power versus Force is by David Hawkins, and those are some books, but I know when I was reading some monks, they were like, we wouldn't read a page of a book unless God had directed us to that book, even if it was a holy book, and because your egotism can take over and be like, oh, I need to read all this stuff. And then you're just caught up in reading and trying to make yourself spiritual for that. So it's a path well worth going down. And it's a path where we get to be awake and where we get to have these experiences of oneness with the divine. But we can't God doesn't make us like an addict where we have to keep chasing these consolations. They're called spiritual consolations. He doesn't keep trying to make us high. And so we go into that's why he has it's all in Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, it feels like death. You've seen me cry. If you've seen my other videos, so much pain I've had to go through, and keep walking, just keep on keeping on and persevering on this path. All right, I wish you so much love. I hope this wasn't too windy. It just is what it is, like you bear through all of that just with with life. I wish you so much love. All right, I do this from my heart out of love. All right, much love. Bye.